All right. I am kind of glad that this is going on right now because it gives me a fresh way to try to explain what I maybe didn't get an opportunity to back when AMC was getting fucked with and no one knew what was going on or how they were doing it. This right here, and this is, I am of a firm belief that many of the hedge funds that were short in AMC when it was, under $10 or whatever, they've closed those positions. They've returned those shares. They returned those. They're not stupid. They're not dumb. They realized at some point there was no way they were going to get this back down to there. There just isn't. So they had to find a way to return those and make money to lessen the blow, which is what they've done when it was in the 70s. You take new short positions there, crush it down as low as you can get it, return your old fucking positions, take the L on there, but you're still heavily in the profit from the shorts you took at the very, very top. And like I said, if they got in at 10 and they're returning it in the 30s, they're losing less money by returning those, obviously, and they're making more money on the top end, the 70 down to 32, whatever. If they bought back there or returned there, they've made a hefty profit. These guys aren't stupid, but there is a video here. I did find one that, again, everything I've learned about the stock market, I learned from doing my own little tests and educational videos and all that shit, watching my homeboy In the Money. He's actually who gave me the idea at first that these guys were using options to fuck with the short interest data, to make you think it's the same, make you believe it's still the same, and then sleight of hand. One day, poof, there's barely any shares out on loan, or half maybe showing what is there, and the interest is way down. I mean, we were at almost 20% short interest, which was where we were at right before June 2nd, and the price plummeted. And then all of a sudden, we're down to 14% short interest. And this gives you a very solid explanation. Just look up how to simulate short stock using options. It's not the greatest explanation, like in depth, because no one makes videos about this in relation to manipulating a stock, but everything is computer generated. All the data, everything, all this shit is read and logged by a computer, so you can simulate ownership of shares. You can simulate short positions in shares of a stock. There's so many ways to do this shit without actually borrowing the stock itself. And you can trick the system into thinking you hold this outlandish short position that you really don't. And then it disappears. And instead of there being 19% short interest, there's 14% now. Oh, it's seemingly overnight because you closed out the options positions. And all the while, you're sneakily returning shares and pushing this price down through shorting and other means, ETFs, whatever. So I am just of the firm belief that these guys, there's probably not a whole lot of shares left that were short around that 10 or under that $10 mark. A lot of those have most likely been returned. And sure, yeah, there's been new positions taken out, but they were taken out up in the 70s, so they're already in profit. And I believe that is the end game for them. It would be for anyone to minimize your losses, and of course they're going to try to find a way to turn it into a profitable scenario for them. That would be a way to do it. That would literally be a way to do it. So we'll see, but I highly recommend just watching this if you don't know anything about options or how you could short using just options. You basically, all this is simulating ownership of 100 shares that you need for the contract without actually borrowing the shares or having the shares or buying the shares. And it will show up as short data. It will show up as shares owned in a short position. There'll be shares outstanding. So it's something that doesn't get talked about. It briefly got talked about. I mean, for like a half a day maybe in the YouTube community, and no one dug into it any deeper. So I feel that is relevant. That's pertinent to this scenario, and you guys should definitely be interested if you want to know how they're manipulating the stock, like you really want to understand it. So watch that. I'm not going to play it because it's like 10 minutes long. Yeah, and this right here, this is taking out a new short position immediately, almost 10 million in a new short position, and then you return your old one here, and then hopefully, you set yourself up again to do what they basically did when it was running up towards like 130, and they just crushed it back down to here. And maybe they're going to let this run up a little bit so they can make money on options or whatever the fuck they're doing, and then they'll just take out new fucking short positions, crush it down, I don't know, somewhere, if they can. This is all assuming that other people don't pick up on this and see what the fuck they're doing. But even if they, they keep it in here, if it comes back down to here, they could very easily just sell back there, and it's still profitable. It's not a huge profit, but if they took the position out here and they return anywhere in between here, it's profitable for them. So that's essentially what I'm fairly certain's happened in AMC, just in a much more malicious way, like severely malicious way. That's I hope, like, I want to be wrong. I want you to understand, I want to be wrong. I have positions in AMC. I fucking watched a lot of money disappear in AMC because of what the fuck they did. And because I listened to other people that weren't giving me information like this, that they should have been giving me. They should have been putting out to the public. They should have been trying to find out and talk about and discuss ways that they could fuck this up or screw with it. But none of them are educated enough for that. None of them have been trading long enough for that. None of them even like to discuss actual manipulation in depth at all. None of them. And I didn't go to a manipulationofastock.com. It was just shit that I learned, things that I learned about stock market, about how you can simulate certain ownership of stocks, and how you can like take long or short positions without actually having the shares. There's just a lot of things you can do in the stock market to trick the system, and none of those guys talk about it. And anytime you try to talk about it, you get your First Amendment rights taken away. So yeah, so watch that video. I hope you have at least some sort of understanding here of what I believe has really gone on in AMC. And I'm fairly certain if there are still open short positions, which I know there are. I know they took new short positions up top. That's obvious. And all of those are in profit. And I think that one day where this shit went down to 31 and they did not want it to go into the 20s because it would have just wreaked havoc with buying pressure, they returned a bunch, which is why it ran up to 40-something. And then they stopped there. Just slowly returned a bunch of their short positions that were well under $10 or around $10. And now they have a bunch of profitable fucking short positions. But they still don't want to return those because if they do, you guys get a lot of money. So they don't want that shit. Hopefully you have some sort of better understanding. Thanks to AMD having a real short attack going on and an easier scenario to explain as to why this would be happening. And same situation. They had like short positions in the 70s, 80s, whatever, and this thing ran up on them, snuck up on them. So now they kind of have to shut this shit down as much as they can, close out their old positions by opening new short positions, and hopefully making money in between here in this little area. It's just their long game. So, alright, I'm going to get back to watching this shit, see what's going on. Look at that bump in the MACD. I like it.